Hey folks, Matthew Weiss here, WeissAdvice.com and Weiss Advice here on YouTube. I hope everyone's enjoying their holiday season. I certainly am. I am because I received a gift recently. It was a free plugin to test out from a company called MixWave. MixWave is Calin Enache, who's probably best known for JIDK, Joey Badass, Pusha T, Wale, pretty big in the hip-hop scene, and then Taylor Larson, who is best known probably in the rock world for Asking Alexandria and Periphery and probably a few others that I'm forgetting. So yeah, they came together, they made a plugin company, and most of their plugins have been like amp sims and pedal emulations, which are great, but not something that I necessarily get into too much. They sent me this one here. This is a preamp emulation, but it does really cool stuff. So I'm pretty excited to show it to you. This is not a paid video. I'm doing this because it's a small startup company and I just happen to really like what they're doing. So let's pop on in here and let's give this a little bit of a play. Just for context, I recorded this record 15 years ago. It is not a great recording, but I've made it sound pretty good.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the mode tube on the glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the folk. Tap my shoulder, yo, I got ill prices. All your little skits got life's little slices. Marvelous. I know where to get my laughs at. No modern now, postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
Fun to listen to. Okay, so what is this plugin? I'm going to pop it up here. It is an emulation of the Coil Audio 70S. So this is a preamp. However, you can run it line level, and when you run it line level, lots of really cool, fun things happen. I'm going to show you a before and after on the lead vocal. I want you to listen really, really carefully, not just to how it sounds, but how the vocal kind of sits, if that makes sense. So here's without it.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the mode tube on the glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the folk.
With.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the mode tube on the glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the folk.
One more time, I'm going to start with it out, and I'm going to bring it in and out as the verse goes around. All right, check it out.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the mode tube on the glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the folk. Tap my shoulder, yo, I got ill prices. All your little skits got life's little slices. Marvelous. I know where to get my laughs at. No modern now, postmodern abstract.
So I'm going to play it one more time, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to listen for. Listen for how bright the vocal sounds and how heavy the vocal sounds. Without it, you'll notice that the vocal feels like it's a little thin and a little separated from the track, and maybe a little bit overly bright in that range that's just a little bit higher than the presence range.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the mode tube on the glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the folk.
It kind of has this effect of almost sitting on top of the record, like it's not part of the record. Now, check it out with it in, and listen to the weight of the vocal, and listen to how it blends with the record.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the mode tube on the glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the folk. Tap my shoulder, yo, I got ill prices. All your little skits got life's little slices.
That is one of those things where, like, at first it's kind of subtle, but then as you start to use it, you realize it's actually not. It's actually pretty profound what's going on in weird ways. The vocal sounds bigger with it on, but at the same time, it sounds more blended with the record, and I love that. I think that's just so cool, because it's not only making the vocal really loud and in your face, like you want a rap vocal to be, but it's doing it without separating it from the track, and it's doing that by really distributing the weightiness of the vocal into a really nice range. It's emphasizing that bass and low mid and kind of easing off the top in a way that would be very complex to do it if I was just trying to do it with like EQ and saturation, because that's really what's going on. There's a combination of EQs and saturations all happening and coming together in order to get something that's just really heavier sounding, and it really works. I think that this plugin is really timely as well, because for the last like 3-4 years, we've been in this trend in audio of trying to make really heavy, weighty, full sounding mixes. We kind of came out of a bright stage in the early 2010s. We had that sort of range where everything was just just like as bright as possible without being harsh, sometimes even with being harsh. Now we're in kind of the opposite. Really full, colorful mids, solid 800 hertz, solid 400 hertz, solid 150 hertz. And it's not easy to do that all the time. It's very easy to make something muddy, to make something feel like it's kind of smeary. This is doing a really good job. I'll give you another example of it before I get into how it's actually working. So we're going to go over here to the snares. So these are our snare tracks right here. I'll solo them up. I'll take the CA-70S off for a second. Alright, sounds like a snare top and bottom. Let's put it into the record.
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the Mote 2 on a glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the foe.
Alright, it's cool, but we've got that same thing going on where it feels like it's kind of separating from the record. Now, let's bring in the CA-70S. I'm going to solo up the snares again. And it doesn't sound dramatically different, but we do notice that there's a little bit more hit to that like 100 to 200, maybe as high as 250 range, but really that like 100, 150 kind of range. There's a little bit more hit to it, and it's not like in a woofy or smeary way. It feels like the transient is still really strong. It's just a little more emphasized there, but otherwise it doesn't feel that different. But let's bring it into the mix. Without...
Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the Mote 2 on a glow. Man, you didn't get close. Hit the mute on the Mote 2 on a glow. Bomb those combos, cool on the jokes. You ain't the Three Stooges, you freaking the foe.
It's like all that little bit of energy purely translates perfectly through the rest of the mix. I don't know what it is about exactly what's going on under the hood here. Like, I kind of know, but it's just doing it in a really well executed way. Now, the way I understand it is the actual way this is constructed is through digital component modeling. There are a number of different ways to make algorithmic plugins. The probably most popular one is going to be like with sine sweeps and yield outputs. So you know that if you have like an EQ or saturation or something like that, you do a sine sweep, you figure out what's happening in the hardware, and then you create a formula that mathematically yields that in order to get the software version. However, another way of doing it is by digitally modeling every component in a device, which is certainly a more complicated way of doing it, but I think if you do it right, you can get some really, really cool results. And for a EQ saturation type of unit, I think that that might be the best way to go. I don't really know, but I know that that's what's going on here, at least from what I understand, and I think that it's working. So let's actually go through and kind of see what's happening. I think going back to the vocal here, let's mute everything and solo it up.
Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth?
Okay, so what would I do with this vocal? First of all, it's a little narrow sounding, meaning it's a little bit in here. I want more chest, I want more brightness, and it also feels like it needs a little fullness all at the same time. So the first thing I've got is some very basic cleanup EQ here. There's a couple little resonances that show up in the upper mids, and then just a little bit of that 750, 800 hertz body, just to kind of balance it a little before we get into the real stuff.
Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth?
Okay, so we got some resonances to get rid of. We need to brighten it up a little bit. Going to ease off on some of the brighter tones in the upper mids and also the stuffy tones around 1K.
Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really...
One more time, before, after.
Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
A little stuffy. After.
Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
All right, now a little bit of compression in the top end just to kind of hold the brightness in place. Sometimes the vocal gets a little bright, sometimes it's a little dull. We just want to lock it in.
Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth?
And a little bit of compression. Some compression on the way in, but a little bit more just to kind of give it a little more body and substance.
Abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth? Sometimes I can't understand.
So here's where we started.
Abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
And here's where we ended.
Abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel?
Now, I don't think that there's a very good way to make this vocal feel fuller using just typical EQ. If there was, I probably would have been doing it using boosts or careful cuts and boosts along the way, but this feels like a pretty well-balanced vocal, and if we hear it in the record...
Abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth?
It feels about right. It feels natural to his voice, but his voice is just naturally a little bit more nasally and thinner. Like, that happens, and perhaps the microphone that I chose at the time didn't necessarily complement that, or, you know, whatever it might be. So this is where our CA-70S is going to come into play. Let's do a factory default on this so we can kind of go through what it's all going to sound like. So we have a number of controls here. We have an input control, we have an output control, we have a secondary input control. This is going to be a saturation sensitive one. Same thing with the output. So this is all modeling the components within the actual preamp. And then we have a negative feedback circuit right here. That's what NF is, as well as a low band EQ. So we can cut lows, add lows, we can cut the negative feedback, we can add negative feedback. Let's experiment with what some of this stuff does. Let's start with negative feedback because this is going to be the most pronounced control.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth? Sometimes I can't understand what he says. Raps too fast, is trap.
So this negative feedback circuit kind of acts like a funky low pass. So if we want to just ease off on anything that's just a little bit too bright, then we would probably start pushing this down.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth?
All right, nice. Now, next thing that we're going to notice is the low frequency control here. Let's take those lows out, see how that sounds.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick?
It's a pretty smooth low cut. The low cut corner feels like it's coming from the subs because of the way it's grabbing the base of the voice, so it creates a pretty transparent cut, but I do not think we need any lows cut from the vocals here.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
This is such a perfect corner frequency for boosting lows on a vocal or on a snare, and actually works surprisingly well on giving presence to a kick, like presence to the bass of a kick, if that makes sense. So like those laptop frequencies that live between like 100 to 250 hertz, really good on those as well. Now this is too much. I think we've gotten a little too husky, but I think just adding a hair of it is pretty good.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
All right, and then we've got some input and output controls. So let's turn down the input and turn up the output real quick and see what we get.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
So we get something that has a bit of color to it, but it doesn't have quite the same huskiness that we were getting before when we were over here.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract.
Right, you can hear that kind of more guttural tone that's coming up. So I think splitting the difference might be kind of cool. Let's do something like this.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth?
And the way that I've been really enjoying using it is finding that spot where it feels like you're not really losing highs, it feels like you're solidifying lows. I find that once you get that feel, like it doesn't feel like I'm running out of top end here.
I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract. I know where to get my laughs at. No modern how postmodern abstract.
It feels more like the lows are blooming out. That tends to be where I like this, where I think it's really working. Let's also mess around with the input, because this input control, it's not necessarily linked to the saturation stages here, but because this is a gain sensitive device, it could have a pretty strong outcome on the sound. So let's pull this down.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the spit the truth? Sometimes.
There we go. Before.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel?
So just adding like a really solid color to it. And I think that in terms of the overall frequency distribution, this setting here seems to be giving me something that's pretty balanced. I'm hearing a nice broadband color kind of showing up across the sort of central mid-range, not just the lows. I'm getting like 400 hertz, 500 hertz, 600 hertz as well, which is really, really useful on a vocal because that tends to be a very challenging range to get to sound really good.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract.
So now let's hear it in connection with the record. Before.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out.
After.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel?
It makes me want to keep listening. It's such a weird thing because it's so subtle, but it's so not subtle at the same time. Like when I hear it with it on, I just want to keep listening to the record. I don't know why. I can't really explain that. Let's mess around with the output. Let's turn the output down a little bit. Let's turn our passive output or our clean output up a little bit.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the motherfucker spit the truth? Sometimes I can't understand what he says.
That sounds great. That sounds perfect. I'm super thrilled with the way that sounds. So yeah, and once it's in, the other thing is that there is a little bit of change in terms of like the transient, the feel of the response. I wouldn't mind necessarily slowing down the attack on this compressor a little bit, just to give it a little bit more punch going into our preamp here.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you?
Yeah, it's a little snappier now, and now I can lower the output a hair.
I know where to get my laughs at, no modern how postmodern abstract. Let's all focal group right now. Circle up, get your glasses on, your pens out. What's Philly slick to you? What do you really feel when the motherfucker spit the truth? Sometimes.
Perfect. Cool. So I wanted to show this because this is a device that I will absolutely be using all the time. I cannot possibly see myself not using this going forward, especially on like digital soft synths. I think I'm probably going to use this like abusively, just on everything. I would say any kind of thin vocal, definitely. Any kind of a thinner snare, like an 808 kind of snare that doesn't have enough body to it. That's like, you know, those thinner 808-ish style claps and snares. Definitely going to be using it on that. Yeah, it's just a really cool device. It's simple, but it's not. So yeah, let's wrap it up here. If you dig this video, hit that like button. If you want to catch more videos like this, hit subscribe with the bell notification so you get notified. And lastly, you know what we say here at Weiss Advice. We are musicians, sound is our instrument, and I will catch you next time.